Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Guys, we are back here to continue to look at the Tawaruq system. And so earlier I have deconstruct the Tawaruq into the facility agreement and the CPO transaction agreement. So let us just look more closely how we can further understand the issue with respect to the controversial or any contentious issue confronted by the Tawaruq system. So if you look at the facility agreement, this is the amount of money that the customer desire, to have, $100,000. And the profit rate is at 5% per annum, and with a tenure of 5 years, so the profit margin, we can find the amount that would be 25,000, and that would be the 100K multiplied by 5% per annum times 5 years. We got 25,000 profit margin. So the facility agreement will tell us the amount of money that we owe the bank, comprising of the facility amount, 100K, plus 25,000 of the profit margin. So that will be equal to 125,000. So that obligation will be the amount of money that we must pay the bank over the 5 years. So that would imply also that the facility agreement have guaranteed the bank the cash amount that the bank have given away, plus the profit margin, so the total of $125,000, and that would also be the 125K will also be the sale price of the facility agreement, because this agreement is not coming from a loan, it is coming from a sale of the crude palm oil. So that sale need to be explained to the customer what is actually involved in the sale. So that is why we look at the CPO transaction agreement, so that the customer will know what is actually happening behind the scene. Because in any kind of transaction, if there is a default of the Tawaruq agreement, whereby the customer need to find a way how to get themselves protected from the banking business. So if the bank is coming after the customer, without any kind of compassion and consciousness, so the customer need to understand what's going on behind this CPO transaction, so that if there is a way how the customer can find a way to defend themselves against any kind of unfair treatment by the bank, if the bank is not forgiving or is putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on the customer to pay up, then by understanding this CPO transaction, at least the customer will be able to find a way, if there is any kind of gap that may exist in the CPO transaction, that can be used by the customer as a way to tell the bank that you are not doing the proper thing when you offer me this kind of structure to facilitate the facility agreement. So what we can see here, that in the CPO transaction, the bank sells the CPO to the customer at 125,000 on deferred payment basis, using the CPO price of $1,500 per ton. So this is the sale price of the master purchase agreement of 125,000, and that would be the amount of debt that the customer owed the bank from the facility amount of 100K plus the profit margin. So that $125,000 debt is equivalent to the sale price coming from the master purchase agreement. So when the MPA is executed, the customer will obtain the legal ownership of the CPO, after which the customer will sell the CPO to the vendor 2 on cash basis to get the liquidity. Then the customer will expedite the master sale agreement, where the CPO will be sold to the vendor 2 at 100,000. So the customer will be getting the cash proceed of 100K to be used accordingly to what is intended. So, but we can see here that the MPA CPO price and the MSA CPO price will be equivalent to 1,500. So the idea here is to tell that the MPA MSA transaction, if it is done concurrently, maybe over 1 minute or 5 minutes, perhaps that there is no change in the CPO prices. So the CPO prices at 11 a.m. and 5 minutes after may be the same. So there's not much volatility in the CPO market. But if there's a big gap or big time gap between the MPA MSA over 2 hours, 3 hours, over a day, so we will see that the CPO price of the MSA will be much different from the CPO price for the MPA, right? So the MPA price, MSA price a day after may be lower or higher than the MPA price. So this is the issue that we are trying to contest to ensure that the customer is in the know about this volatility that will occur during the master sale agreement. So if there's a big gap, a long time gap between the MPA and MSA, then probably the CPO prices will not be equal, because the price of the MSA CPO may be lower or higher than the MPA price. Okay, so this will be, the detailed transaction amount here. To cut the story short, the bank buy the CPO from the supplier for $100,000. So that will be the amount to be disbursed to the customer. So that will be the money that the bank will acquire from the deposit fund to be used to purchase the CPO from the vendor 1. Now the bank, after getting ownership of the CPO from the supplier 1, will need to sell the CPO to the customer on deferred payment. So, but because we want to see that there is no gharar, there is no ambiguity in the Tawaruq financing, so the transaction need to be broken down into pieces. So the CPO transaction will consist of the quantity of the CPO traded and the price of the CPO. So at the time of the MPA transaction, master purchase agreement, where bank sells the CPO to the customer on credit basis, then we will be able to see what will be the amount of CPO transacted, and that would be equal to the CPO quantity plus the prevailing market price during the MPA. The quantity of the CPO can be gotten from the earlier transaction. So the facility agreement of 100,000 multiply is equal to the quantity of CPO multiplied by the price of the CPO during the purchase. And the price can be gotten from the marketplace, and that would be $100,000 divided by $1,500 per ton. So the CPO price can be obtained from the CPO daily market prices, say at 10 a.m. when the bank buy the CPO from the vendor 1. The price of the CPO is 1,500 per ton. Then the quantity of CPO traded would be $100,000 divided by $1,500 per ton. So that will be 66.6 ton. So that will be the quantity traded for under the MPA, the Master Purchase Agreement. Now, when the bank takes over the CPO ownership from supplier 1 or vendor 1, it will now sell the 66.6 ton of CPO to the customer on deferred payment, which is equivalent to 125,000. So I apologize for the typo error. So this should be 125,000 as stated in the facility agreement. So in the facility agreement earlier, we have shown you that the debt or sale price is 125,000. So, but I apologize for the typo error. So the bank will take the CPO ownership and sell the CPO to the customer for 125,000. So this will be the credit sale of 125,000 that will be locked into the facility agreement, plus profit of 25,000 in the form of a contractual debt obligation in the facility agreement. So that is how we see that the bank is able to ensure that it is able to secure the full repayment of the facility, which is $100,000 facility, plus the profit margin of the facility, which is equivalent to 25,000. So the total debt obligation of the customer is 125,000, and that is also equivalent to the sale price stated in the Master Purchase Agreement of 125,000. And so that will explain how the bank is able to secure the repayment of the facility amount plus the profit margin. And finally, for the bank, for the customer to be able to possess or to acquire the cash proceed as stated in the facility agreement, that is to obtain the 100,000 cash proceed as stated in the facility agreement, the customer now will sell the CPO to the supplier B for $100,000 cash. So this is the master sale agreement that may take place, for example, at 11 a.m. where the CPO market price may be up or down, but in the Tawaruq agreement, in the Tawaruq arrangement, or this organized or arranged Tawaruq agreement, the MSA has fixed the price to 1,500, so that when the MSA is executed at price of CPO to equivalent to 1,500, then the transaction can be concluded at $100,000 cash. So the supplier B will pay the customer a cash amount of $100,000 as intended to be gotten from the facility agreement. So when this is happening, both parties will be happy. The bank will be able to acquire the repayment of 125,000 at the end of maturity based on installment payment basis, and the customer will be happy because the customer will be getting the 100,000 cash proceed or liquidity as intended in the facility agreement. Okay, guys, we can further look at the contentious issue of this Tawaruq later on as we move on into the third video. Thank you very much for your time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.